Sweating. First of all, thank you all for coming. Thanks everyone for taking the time to come again today. I'm going to start. I had a speech which I was always wanting to give in Rotherham. That speech is about Islam and the way it encourages the rape of non-Muslims. Someone's given me the Quran. I was looking for the Quran. I forgot my Quran. Someone gave me the Quran. But what I'm actually going to do, due to what's happened in the build-up to this demonstration, I'll explain in a second, but I'm going to save this speech, because on the 29th of July, when we're back here, I'm going to rip this book to pieces, bit by bit, and explain how it's justified 14 times the rape of non-Muslim women is sanctioned in this book. But I don't want to go into too much detail about that because I'm going to save that speech. What I want to talk about now today is equal rights. When the United People of Luton started, it started over a soldiers' homecoming parade. And then we tried to react to that as non-Muslims. What we found was that we were treated completely differently and second-rate and unfair treatment by the British police in compared to the Muslim community. What that then became was more of an argument of equal rights. The original demonstration was gone. If you watch the second, the third, the fourth demonstrations, our motivation was the fact that we felt we were being treated unfairly and second class. Now, in the build-up to this demonstration with South Yorkshire Police, people now know Pegida is a peaceful organisation. We're not here for trouble. When I contacted the police about our demonstration route of where we want to go and where we want to demonstrate, I simply looked at where the Muslims protested in this same town over Gaza. That's all I did. And then I said, you know what? They were in All Saints Square. We want to be in All Saints Square. That's it. We don't want any special treatment. We want the same treatment. We was then told by the police that no one was allowed All Saints Square. In fact, first of all, we was told there was going to be a wedding. I then offered that we don't want to disrupt the wedding. I'd have changed the whole demonstration before I ruined some woman's wedding day. So if the bride who's getting married is watching this, know that we offered to change it. We didn't want to disrupt your wedding day. But the police said that no one was having All Saints Square. Yesterday, the police told me that the Muslim community are having All Saints Square. This is the exact injustice and unfair treatment, the two-tier policing and treatment of different communities. What's the reason why they've been given All Saints Square? This is a city where 1,400 children were raped, prostituted, beaten, and basically we saw a white slave trade in the UK by Muslim men in this town. This town, I've just walked around it today, there's not even that many Muslims here. You have to see that 3 or 4% is the Muslim population in this town. Look at the damage that they've caused with 3 or 4%. Look at the damage. I think there's only 3,000 Muslim men aged 18 to 50. How many of those men were involved in the rape and prostitution of those kids? How many of them?
2,000.
But the reason they've been given All Saints Square is because about 9 months ago, all the Muslim organisations in this town, they know what they're doing. They pulled complete police cooperation. And of course, the police shit themselves, like everything to do with them. They're constantly fearful of how they will react. So the reason that they've got that square down there today, and we've been put up here, is because they're fearful of how the Muslim community will react. Well, for me, I think a line in the sand has been drawn, and we can't let this go. I've said to the police in the build-up to it, we will now continue to come back to Rotherham every month if we have to, until we get All Saints Square. All we are asking for is equal treatment, nothing else. Equal treatment. And I don't know if they think they're doing any good, because what they actually do is add more fuel to the fire, more anger. Every person that turns up on our side here today feels treated unfairly by a police force that has a disgusting record on their... Up until last year, the leadership of this police force was still trying to blame innocent Liverpool fans for their failures. Up until last year. And again, I don't want to in any way seem like every police officer here I'm having a go at, because I'm not. I'm having a go at your hierarchy, your gold commanders that are making the decisions. You've actually added to the problem, because rather than having one demonstration, which I actually agreed with the police, we will come here once. We will come here once and we will leave. But now, we're going to keep coming here. And that's your fault, not ours. You've caused problems. Again, so many times we speak about hate. I oppose hate. I oppose hate of everyone, yeah? Real hatred, we should mention, one of the reasons why they didn't want us here is an 81-year-old man was kicked to death, a Muslim man in this city, in this town. He was called a groomer. I oppose that. Every decent person opposes that. That is not the right reaction to the problems, but simply trying to bury the problems. And in fact, the police's results of burying decades of these problems is what has resulted in those frustrations and angers that are spilling over. But again, to everyone, it's not every Muslim's fault, but we are opposed to a backward ideology. Again, I will wait because I have a speech which is to dissect this, but the problem I have is that I go away next week for 4 weeks with work, and I simply think I'll get arrested for what I'm going to do and say. So, Sir William Gladstone, who was the Prime Minister of this great country, he stood in Parliament, he held this book above his head, and he said, there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this hate-filled book. He was a world leader. There are statues of him in our capital city. Unfortunately now, due to the influence Muslims have, due to political correctness, the truth can no longer be spoken. People who speak it like ourselves are targeted, we're slandered, we're attacked. Previous world leaders understood Islam. The people in the towns and cities understand Islam, but our leaders are fearful. I'll have a few more words to say at the end, but I'm going to pass you over to Anne-Marie for her speech. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. There was a letter this week sent to South Yorkshire Police. I don't know how many of you saw it. It was written by a group of Muslim something of something. Who cares what they're called, but some Muslim group wrote a letter to the police this week accusing us of hate. I had journalists write to me asking me what I have to say about being accused of hate. And this is what I have to say about being accused of hate. What we are doing today is not hate. Passing around a 12-year-old girl among a crowd of grown men to utterly destroy her, that is hate. This is not hate. That is hate. Anyone would think that we had started this. We are a response to hate. We are not the problem here, and I am sick and tired of the media portraying us as the problem. We did not start this. We did not start this. And you can probably guess, but I'll say it anyway. Do you want to know what really stirs up community tensions in a town? Gang raping white girls because they're white. That's what stirs up community tensions.
To touch on what anger and hate is. There's a fine line to draw between anger and hate. And sometimes when we are fueled with that anger, it's so easy to overstep that mark and enter into that arena of hate. Evil has no understanding of peace. Evil has no understanding of compassion, of humanity. Evil understands one thing, and one thing only, and that is hate. This is my first time that I come to this town, and I cannot believe how small this town is. And yet 1,400 over a period of 20 years, white girls were systematically raped. How can that happen?
Exactly.
in Britain. I don't understand what actually went on. We need an independent public inquiry that gets into the detail of it. Those police officers that turned a blind eye deliberately, either because they were too afraid of being called racist, or they were blind, idle, lazy. Those police officers need to be brought to account, prosecuted for their neglect of duty, for allowing criminal acts to take place. In my own community, as I was raised as a Pakistani in my own community, as a Muslim, we, the Pakistanis, have an attitude: white women, easy meat, they sleep around, they're a game for all. Can you imagine the impression, the image that we have abroad when we allow a different culture into the West without even taking precautions? Look what happened in Cologne. These young Muslim men thought white women, yes, free, a game for all. Let's touch them. They won't mind. Let's touch them. They won't mind. They're white. They fail to understand our culture. This is a danger that we are putting our women under. Not just the white women, any woman. There has been cases of Asian girls who have also been groomed. But overall, the majority of them were white girls. They were all white girls. Now a paedophile does not see a race. When he sees a child, he does not target a child because of its race. A paedophile will target any child. But what happened here is beyond paedophilia. It was a targeted race. And they are shouting out towards here, racist scum. The lefties need to get their act together. A friend of mine was talking to a friend of his, an imam, and he posed this question to him about the grooming, the rape. And this is what the imam said. This is what he said. I know these Muslim men, they are very nice men. They're not trouble. It was the white girls that led them on. This is the word from the imam. You may argue the point, that's only one imam. But you're talking to a person from the community, from the inside. And I'm telling you that this is the consensus of the community, that white girls are easy meat. That they don't matter. And I will say this to the Pakistani community. You can hound us, the ones that have turned away from Islam. You can abuse us. You can hate us. You can attack us. But we will not return hate with a hate. We will always love you and forgive you. And that's the essence of humanity. Once I was talking to an individual on Facebook, a Muslim, and I was speaking to him on a chat line. And he asked me why I turned away from Islam. And I told him outright, I said, this is why I turned away from Islam. And he felt really offended, and the hate came out of him. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're going to ask me a question, then expect an answer and don't react to it. If you don't want to hear the truth, don't ask me. Anyway, he said the most vile things to me, that the things he liked to do to my sister, to my mum. I had a choice there. I had a choice either to fuel the hate, or I had a choice to respond in an adult with humanity. I chose to act in the right way. And this is what I said to him. I said, you can say anything you want to my mum, to my sisters, to me. I forgive you, I love you. And guess what? It stopped. He didn't know how to handle that. You see, evil is not strong. Peace and love overcomes evil. Evil has no strength. As long as we stand in love and in peace, we are a stronger force.
My name is Magnus Nielsen, by the way. I do know many of you, but possibly not all. So quite like this, many of you don't actually know who I am. I am a candidate, or was a candidate, for Hampstead and Kilburn on 3 occasions for the United Kingdom Independence Party. And having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I should make it clear that I'm no longer a member of the United Kingdom Independence Party. I was actually expelled from the party for having come up and spoken on the Maria's platform, on a platform very much like this, when I said that Islam is at war with Britain, and that got me into a lot of trouble with the hierarchy of UKIP. They thought it wasn't sufficiently politically correct, and they terminated my membership. Well, all I can say is that UKIP is one less of a potential candidate. Now, I haven't come here to make a political speech. You have to carry on deciding who you're going to vote for and how you're going to vote for in this referendum. That's between you and your conscience. All I can say is that I personally am going to vote out, and I would, it's up to you, it's entirely up to you. I haven't come here to, I'm going to carry on supporting the UK Independence Party and my friends in that party, but you have to make your own choice. So I said that we were actually at war with Islam, and am I sorry for saying that? No, I'm not sorry, because we are. And it's not a war that we have actually chosen to be in. Islam is at war with us, because Islam is at war with unbelief throughout the world, and it has been for the past 1400 years. And there are waves of Islamic conquest. It started off with Mohammed sweeping over the Christian Middle East, and then into places like Persia and India, and destroying Hindu civilization, and then going into Africa and taking Africans as slaves and starting up in... Did you know there was another slave trade? The British didn't have a monopoly on the slave trade, that the Muslims had a slave trade in Africa going back hundreds of years before the British arrived. It was the British, by the way, who put an end to that, and that is not something which is taught in our schools, and it's something which bloody well ought to be.
Because grooming's not just unique to this town, it's unique all over the country. There is 40 individual police investigations going on into grooming gangs all over this country, from Newcastle to London and farther afield. You don't hear about it. It's quieting down. But 18 months ago, it wasn't a speech I made, it was more of an appeal. And I'm going to revamp that just a little bit. Not all of it, because it was quite a long, drawn-out thing. And it's something that no man has the right to ask a woman. But I'll ask them. Because this hasn't been going on for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years at least. All over the United Kingdom and farther afield. But in the United Kingdom, the figures could be as high, and take this one, up to 1 million children, young women, sexually abused by this cult that needs squashing, and needs squashing immediately. The appeal I made 18 months ago was that women, and this is why I say no man has the right, but I'm going to anyway, women who were abused 30 years ago, 20 years ago, no matter how long, you have it in your power to go a long way to stopping this. Now I know a lot of you have moved on in your lives and built good lives for yourselves and managed to put this behind you. Many, many more haven't. They're still suffering drug addiction and psychological problems because of what happened. They probably will for the remainder of their lives. That's not counting those who have committed suicide, who we'll never know about. I want them women, please, draw on your own courage, because there's nothing stronger than a woman when she decides to make her mind up. God, I know that, I've got a strong one at home. Walk into a police station tomorrow morning, or in the near future, and name and shame them animals that abused you all them years ago, because they're still here, they're still in the community. Some of them young Muslim men have now moved on and are elders within their chapel of rest, or whatever you want to call it. Police officers who turned a blind eye because they didn't want to be called racist have moved up the ranks. Many have come into gold-plated pensions and moved on. Social workers who turned a blind eye. But mostly left-wing councils who actively tried very hard to bury the evidence and make the victims into the enemy.
An appeal. A heartfelt appeal. There are girls across the country right now still being groomed. and they're afraid to speak out. They don't trust the police either, understandably. I want to make a direct appeal to those girls. If you're afraid of the Pakistani men who have threatened you and told you that if you speak out, we will kill you or burn you alive, please get in touch with me. Get in touch with me through Pegida. If you're afraid to speak out to the police, come and approach me. I care. I care for any raped victim, whether they're white, black, Asian, whatever. Rape is nothing more than a hideous crime. But to rape a child is beyond humanity. It's evil beyond evil. And I want to encourage those girls, please, to get in touch with me. Tommy is often called the racist. He's stood here, right? Right, this is Tommy holding a hand with a Pakistani. Why? With a Pakistani. Take your photographs. Take your pictures.